Hello, my friends. Today we're learning Baba Basra Daf Mem Aleph. We're going to start from the Mishnah Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph. It says a Mishnah: Kol chazaka she'ini moitaina. Someone who's in the field for 3 years and he doesn't have an explanation what he's doing in the field. The Mishnah is going to explain. Eina chazaka. That's not called a good chazaka. And we learned this early on. We said it in the Sugyas, but here the Mishnah says it clearly. Ketzad. We have an example. Omaloi, Reuven tells Shimon, what are you doing in my field? Vu oima, Oma, and Shimon says, Loi, tells Reuven, Shloi amartali, Shloi omali dov oma oilom. No one told me that I shouldn't be here. But he's not explaining that he bought it or he got it or anything. He just says, no one told me that I shouldn't be here, so I'm here for 3 years. Says the Mishnah, in a chazaka, because as we explained, chazaka is a proof for buying, for getting as a present, Yerusha, etc. But it's not a reason to be koina, just a chazaka itself. Says the Mishnah, if Shimon says, Shemocharteli Reuven, you sold it to me, that's why I'm here. Shenofateli b'matono, you gave it to me as a present. Or he says, Avicha marcholi, your father sold it to me. Avicha not li b'matono, your father gave it to me as a present, and I've been in here for 3 years and no one told me a word. Then Aryeh chazaka, because you have also 3 years and also a taina explaining how it came to become yours. Says the Mishnah, last case, that if someone says, I got it from my father's Yerusha, and I've been in it here for now 3 years, and now the Morikama comes and says, no, it's mine, and this Yerush doesn't say, oh, I know my father bought it off you, or you got it as a present. I have no idea. I know my father passed away, and he gave it to me in his will. Says a Mishnah, you don't need a taina, you don't need to explain how it came to your father, and that you got to Yerusha, and you've been in it 3 years, that's enough that to bring the raya that the field belongs to you. Says the Gemara Pshita, obviously that chazaka without a taina is nothing. Says the Gemara, I might have thought, this person who's in the field, who's not taining a taina, all he says is no one told me anything. He bought this land, and he had a star that he bought it, and he lost it. And the reason why he's saying, oh, no one told me anything, and he's not saying he bought it, he's thinking to himself, if I'm going to say I bought this field, normally they're going to tell me, show you your star. And since I lost my star, I'm scared to say the truth, and that's why I said no one told me anything. Hilkoch, I might afford Leimele Anon. We Besdin should tell him, Dilma, maybe Star sorry. Maybe Dilma Star Aveloch Virkas, maybe you had a star and you lost it, and we're gonna tiny for him, we're gonna help him and ask him if that's what happened. And if he says yes, so we're gonna give him the field. Going there, why would you think you do this? Going there Psach Picho Leilim. That there is cases where a person doesn't know how to taina, we help him, because it's like someone who's deaf, we help him speak. Someone who's mute, we help him speak. So you might have thought that if a guy says, no one told me anything, we can ask him, maybe you had a star and you lost it. No, then in this case it's not psach picholeilem, and if the guy is not taining that he bought it or got it as a present to any taina, we say bye, leave the field, and we don't taina for him, and that's a chiddush in the Mishnah. Anov Simen. Rav Anon says the Gemara story of Anon Shokal Bitke Be'are. There was a flood that came into his land and he moved the fence between his property and his neighbor's property. Ozal Ado Gudu Be'are de Chavrei. He went and he built the fence again, and by mistake he put it a bit into his friend's field. Also, like a major Rav Nachman, this case came in front of Rav Nachman. Omar Leis Rav Nachman told Rav Anon, Zil Oda, go give back the land you stole. So Rav Anon asked Rav Nachman, I have a chazaka, I've been here for 3 years. Omalei, so Rav Nachman told Rav Anon, Keman, who are you going like? Rav Yudak, Rav Shmuel, who both hold the Amri called the fun of La'alta Ave Chazaka. Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yudah hold that if you do a chazaka in front of someone and he doesn't do a mechal, straight away it's a chazaka, because that's a proof, because the person would not let someone be in his field without permission in 1 minute if he sees it. And if he doesn't do a mechal, that itself is a proof that he owns this field, the person who's in the field. So that's what you're telling me, because you've been there, you don't have any taina that you bought this extra piece of land. You're just saying because you put down the fence. You're holding like Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yehuda. We don't pass like that. We hold the chazaka needs together with a taina. Amalei, and the is a bit shver in the Mishnah. Straight away, we asked after the Mishnah Pshita, what's the chiddush I need a taino? We could have said La Fuki Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shmuel. But anyway, says it more. Amalei, so Rav Anon told Rav Nachman, Va'achil. The owner, my neighbor, was moichel that I took his part of land. Why? The osa v'sia beguda ba'adoi. When I built the new fence after it got destroyed, he helped me build it. Amalei, so Rav Nachman told Rav Hanon, mechila betosi. It was a mechila by mistake because he didn't realize that he's putting the fence into his field and taking a little bit of his field and putting it into your possession. At gufach, you yourself, Rav Hanon, if you know where the old borders were, Loy avid it. You wouldn't try stealing land from your friend. Like you had a mistake and you put it into his possession. When he helped you build the fences, he also never knew that you're stealing from him land, and that's why he helped you. But that doesn't mean that he was moichel on this piece of land. He just didn't know, like you didn't know, and therefore there's no mechila here, there's no chazaka, and therefore you have to give back the stolen land to your neighbor. Said the Gemara, a similar story. Rav Kahana Shokal Bitka Be'ari. Rav Kahana had a field and a flood came and flooded his field and moved the fences. Ozal, he went, Ota Guda Be'ara Deloy day. He put the fence, he made his field bigger by mistake, and he put the fence into his friend's property. Said the Gemara Daf Hayomi from one days. Also, like a matter of Yehuda, this case came in front of Yehuda. Ozil Aisi Trey Sadeh. The neighbor brought two Eidim. Chad Omar, one of them said, Tarte Oitziso Al, that Rav Kahana invaded into his neighbor's property 2 rows of vegetables, or 2 rows of the field. Chad Omar, and the other 8 said, Kloso Oitziso Al, that he went in 3 rows into his friend's property. So we have here 2 Eidim. One says 1, and one says 2 lines, and one says 3 lines. Amalei, so Rav Yehuda told Rav Kahana, Zil Sholim, go give him back Tarti. Migoy class. From those 3 that we're not sure, we don't have 2 Eidim on 3, but on 2 we do have 2 Eidim, because one Eid says 2 and the other one says 3, and 3 is included 2, so we have 2 Eidim on 2. Go give him back those 2 lines. Malay, so Rav Kahana told Rav Yehuda, come on, how are you paskening to me? Rav Shimon Lozo, you paskening like Rav Shimon. So he told him, come on, who is this going like? So Rav Yehuda answered him, Rav Shimon Lozo, the Tanya we learned in the Brisa. Rav Shimon Lozo, lo nechluku beishama besilel. Bishama and Besilel never had the argument on the following case. In what case? Al shteki te Eidim, we had 2 groups of Eidim, Reuven and Shimon and Levi and Yehuda. Shachas Imeres, Reuven and Shimon are saying money, that someone owes his friend 1 money. Vachas Imeres Mosayim and Levi and Yehuda say that the same person owes 200. They contradict each other. Does the person owe 100 or 200? That everyone agree, Ben Besilel, Ben Bishamai agree, Sheyesh Bechal Mosai Mone, that when someone says 200, then 200 is also included 100, and therefore that person, there's no contradiction about the 100, and he has to pay back 100. The other 100 is a contradiction, and that's why it's a suffix. He doesn't need to pay back. When you have only one set of Eidim, Reuven and Shimon, Reuven says the Levi owes Yehuda 1 money. And Shimon says the Levi owes Yehuda Mosayim 200. We don't have here full Eidos on anything, because one is 100 and one is 200, and each one is no Eidos with his friend. Besilil argue, Yesh Bichal Mosayim Mone, that even the Eid you said that Levi is Chayiv Mosayim, and that's also included 100, and the other Eid also says 100. So we pass in the Levi has to pay 100. The other 100 we don't know. And therefore, says Rav Nachman to Rav Kahana, says Rav Yehuda to Rav Kahana, I'm paskening like Besilel. And therefore, in our case, that we have 1 Eid on 2 lines and 1 Eid on 3 lines, we go on 2 lines and 2 lines, you have to give back. Malay, so Rav Kahana told Rav Yehuda, my sinelecho, igartu mimarov, I'll bring you a letter from Eretz Yisrael, deina locha Rav Shimon and Lozo, that Allah is not like him, so why are you paskening like that? Malay, Rav Yehuda answered Rav Kahana, when you bring me this letter from Eretz Yisrael that we don't paskin like Rav Shimon Loza about this, then I'll paskin differently. But until then, this is what I know the halacha is, and therefore go give back those 2 lines that we for sure know that you took from your friend, from your neighbor. Said the Gemara, Au Gavra, this person, the Darbe Kashta, lived in a place called Kashta Be'aliesa in the attic. Arba Shonim, 4 years. Osimora de Besa, came the landlord of the house. Ashkeche saw him in his attic. Omale, my boy is Besa, what are you doing in this house? Omale, mi plan is avinta. I bought it off a third person. The Zavra Minoch, he bought it off you. But he's not telling that he bought it directly off the old landlord. He's saying he bought it from someone who bought it off the landlord. Also, like Kamed Rab Chia, this case came in front of Rab Chia. Armalei, so Rab Chia said, it's loch Saadi. If you have Eidim, if the Machzik has Eidim, the door you dissolveness minei, that the person who you're tinying, the third person, lived in it, Afilu Chad Yoime, even one day before you bought it off him, because you're saying, let's say Reuven saying to Shimon, what are you doing in my attic? And Shimon says he bought it off Levi, that bought it off Reuven. So if you have Eidim, even though the Levi lived in the attic at least one night, then we'll give it to you, we'll say you have a good chazakah, because you have a chazakah over Taina, you have a proof. Levi lived in it one day, and you say Levi bought it off Reuven, and now you live in it 3 years. If you don't have such Eidim, you don't have a chazakah, because it's like a chazakah about Taina. You can't say that guy bought it off you. Do you know that he bought it off you? No, you're just saying that he said, so that's not good enough. Omar Rav, says Rav, Abba Yassivni Kamei de Chabibi, I was sitting in front of Chabibi, my uncle, Rab Chia, and they asked him, why does Shimon need to bring a raya that Levi was there in one day? Does it not make sense? Maybe Levi bought off Reuven, and the same night he went and sold it on to Shimon. Does he have to live in it from a day before he sells it on? He could sell it straight on. Why is he not allowed to do it? It says Rab, and I understood the depthness of what Rab Chia meant. If Shimon tells Reuven, I saw Levi buying it off you. Nehemon. So Shimon will be believed even if he can't bring a raya that Levi lived in the field one day. Why? Migu, because he has a taina. He could have said, in the same price, Shimon could have said, I bought off you, Reuven. So now he's saying, I saw Levi buying off you, it's the same taina. We believe you. Again, Levi bought in front of me from you, Mehemon, we believe Shimon Migudi Boy Omale, another Vintominoch. He has a Migud, they could have said, Shimon, I bought it directly from Reuven. But if he doesn't taina that Levi, he knows that Levi bought off Reuven, so then he needs a raya that Levi lived in the field at least for one day, because otherwise he doesn't have a taina. That's why he's saying Levi told him that's not enough. Marova Kabaseder Rab Chia Mistabra, I'll bring a raya to Rab Chia from our Mishnah, because it says in the Sefer of our Mishnah, Diktoni Abo Mishum Yerusha, someone who tines that he got this field from Yerusha and he doesn't know how his father got it. Ein tzorich taina, doesn't need to say my father bought it, my father got it as a present. All he's saying is he doesn't need to say that taina. Taino deloy boy we medayik, since it doesn't say any tzorich klum and it says doesn't need the taina, that means he doesn't need the taina to say how his father bought it. Haraya boy, but to bring a proof that his father was in the field for at least one day, he does need to bring a raya. So therefore, it's a raya to what we're saying. To Rab Chia, they need to bring a raya. Shimon needs to bring a raya that Levi lived in the field at least one day. Says the Gemara, no, maybe we don't have a raya from our Mishnah. But Dilma, loy raya boy, veloy taina boy. When it says in the Mishnah, Abba Machmas Yusha Nitzorch Taina, it means it doesn't need anything. And you know why does it say in Nitzorch Taina? Because we were talking about in the Mishnah about Taina, so we say you don't need Taina, but it means it doesn't need anything. And even a raya to say that to prove that his father was in the field for one day, he does not need to bring. The Ibo is saying another teretz that you don't have a raya from the Mishnah. Really, maybe in the Mishnah it means that you don't need to bring a taina how your father got it, but you for sure need to bring a raya that your father's been in the field one day, because you're coming with tainas to Yerusha. But a guy who's a loikeach who paid money for the field, he doesn't need to prove that Levi lived in the field, because if he wasn't sure that Levi bought off Reuben, he would never buy it off him. He's paying money, he's taking money out of his pocket. It's not like Yerusha, and therefore, even without a raya, it's good enough, and therefore there's no raya from our Mishnah to loikeach. Said the Gemara, the Gemara had a shaila. Nearer boy my. If what we said, that Rab Chia said that if you're not positive, if you're not tiring that you saw Levi buying off Reuven and then you bought off Levi, you need to bring a raya that Levi was in the field for one day and he was muchzik in the field at least one day. What's it then if you could bring a raya that Levi was in the field and he measured the field, but he didn't do a chazaka in the field? Is that good enough or not? Omar Abaye, says Abaye, what's the difference? It's like a chazaka, he was going in the field and measuring it, that shows that he owns it, and therefore such a chazaka is a good chazaka. Sometimes a person goes into a field, let's say he's thinking of buying it, he measures it, but he doesn't buy at the end, and that Levi measured the field is not a raya like he was machzik in the field. If he's machzik, that's a raya. Oh, he was machzik, he did a minig bailim, but that he measured, that's not minig bailim, that's maybe he will think of buying it, but we don't know that he actually bought it, and therefore that's not good enough to bring a raya that the Levi actually measured. You need a raya that Levi actually lived there at least for one day. L'shitas Rab Chia. Thank you very much. We should have and we should have lots of peace between Am Yisrael. Amen.